Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to go over something that, as very commonly, you guys are always asking about. What's that one thing that you can really do for yourself and your relationship to make you guys stay together as long as possible? What is that one thing that you can do? And we're going to break it up into many micro perspectives, but the main overarching perspective is that if you are somebody who can manage your emotions while still pushing against their emotional barriers, the deactivation strategies, those abnormal maladaptive behaviors, if you're able to push against them while still managing your own emotions, you will most likely be that person that the avoidant commits to. And the reason why is because you're healing them while you're also managing your own mood. So you both are healing, basically. And you're taking turns taking that opportunity to heal while also doing it simultaneously together. And so let's break up some of those ways that can show up in a relationship, okay? The very first one is something I'm going to call self-declaration. It's a placeholder word. You guys might find a better one. I'm going to explain it, okay? Basically, it can help if you guys convey a desire for a meaningful relationship through communication throughout the relationship, not just through serious moments or not through a very specific perspective. It's actually something that you communicate and convey throughout, okay? So you kind of declare of your own self that this is something that you need in a relationship, even though it's not necessarily labeled. So I'm going to give an example because, again, I'm pretty sure that was confusing. You can mention something like, I always appreciate how we try to communicate with each other, even if we need to pause the conversation for the time being. Working through things is important to me. So that last part is pretty much vital for what I'm talking about, okay? What does this mean? You're not saying, oh, I want to be a couple that always talks through things. That would be a little bit confusing for somebody who is a little bit uncomfortable with commitment and rigid specifics to romantic relationships. However, you say working through things is important to me, you're not talking about them, you're talking about yourself, and it's not something that has a very specific term attached to it. You're not saying getting married at age 26 is important to me. That's a little specific. Now, if you want to, that's fine. But instead, you might say something like, I want to be able to find a partner who I know would be a good parent to my children, right? So most people who want to get married at a certain age is because they want children and they think it might be better biologically, maybe even financially, whatever your reasons are to have children at that age. That's typically a common reason. I don't know how common it is in every state, but I know in my state that's common why people do that. Sometimes it's because for military advantages, you can buy a house with a certain type of whatever it is. And so that's why a lot of people in this area do that. So whatever your reason is, communicate it in a way that comes from yourself and it doesn't come across as overly pressuring, but it still has values attached to it. Avoidants are much more appreciative towards a value instead of what something means without them realizing what it could mean. Maybe you could say something like, I value us taking walks together. I really like when we do that. What you're actually saying is I like spending time with you, but you mention it a little bit more in a way that's more structured to their perspective. Another example could be, let's say you do want to get married at a certain time. You could say something like, I value open communication and us being honest where we are at with one another. By saying it like that, you're able to slowly communicate where you guys are in terms of the commitment, in terms of the relationship, where you guys are going and where you guys want to go. But you're not starting off that way right away. You're just mentioning what you value and what you appreciate about somebody. And you can even say, I appreciate that you already have those attributes. So I'm pretty confident that we're doing things the right way. Whatever way you want to describe it can really help because now you're managing your emotions because you're saying it in a way that's conveying how you feel, but it's not overly expressive, but you're also prompting them in a certain direction, which is healthy, right? The next one is emotional safety in general. It's very important for both of you guys to create an environment that both individuals can be their authentic selves, okay? This means communicating what emotional safety is to you. So you both have to do that, right? You could mention something like, I appreciate your efforts and I see your progress. I would also like if you could text me a little bit more during the work week, even just a small check-in. It doesn't even have to be during work hours, maybe just right after. How do you feel about that? So you're saying this is what makes me feel safe. I feel safe when we check in together, have small connections here and there. To me, that makes me feel appreciated and more connected, right? An avoidance version might be something along the lines of, I appreciate how, flexible you are with me. I know that I can be a little bit rigid. Sometimes I need some time to decompress. Do you think maybe on the weekends you could text me a little bit less often? Not against you or anything personal. I'm like this with everybody. I just need some time to myself, right? Now you guys are both communicating emotional safety about the needs you guys have and what emotional safety means to you, okay? The next one is you want to address issues before they spill over. Fearful avoidants struggle with this one. I'm not calling you guys out. I'm being honest, okay? Sometimes the reason why particularly fearful avoidants struggle with this one is because they're switching between activating and deactivating. So sometimes you're like, maybe this issue doesn't even really bother me. Or I feel uncomfortable, I don't want to get yelled at, or I don't want to disappoint my partner, or maybe I can handle it myself. And so you're telling yourself these things and you're bottling it up and you're bottling it up and then it spills over and then you crash out. Very common, okay? Another example, which is more common with anxious folks, might be that you feel like if you say something, your partner might not take it seriously. Fearful avoidants do this too. And so you bottle it up. Or you feel like they should know better. They should not, you don't have to say it to them. They should be able to understand. So why should you have to be the one to communicate it to them? And so you bottle it up and then you bottle it up and then it spills over and you crash out, okay? And so let's give an actual type of an example so you guys know what I'm talking about, okay? Let's say, for example, we have an avoidant male and fearful avoidant female. And this avoidant male, he has his ex-girlfriend still as his contact on his phone. So he's not texting her, nothing bad, nothing nefarious, but he has her as a contact. And the fearful avoidant female thinks that's kind of odd. She has the right to feel that way. She's uncomfortable, okay? And so she wants to communicate that she doesn't like this and she feels like maybe it could be disrespectful to their relationship and it opens doors that maybe shouldn't be opened. He might think, I just don't delete any contact, like it has nothing to do with her. But she might feel a little uncomfortable. So now they both are on different sides of the perspective. Nobody's being controlling. No one's cheating. No one's doing anything. They're just uncomfortable about this and they have different views on it. So what can she say? She can say something along the lines of, that makes me a little uncomfortable. I would like if we could both discuss boundaries. For me, personally, I would want you to delete that number. I understand if you find that unreasonable, and I am willing to work on that. But truthfully, I would rather you delete it since you told me you don't talk to her and I'm not seeing a reason. What's your perspective? Sometimes you mentioning it from a more strategic standpoint, such as this, a lot of avoidance will be like, okay, that's fine. I'll just delete it, right? They don't feel like you're controlling them. They feel like you're just appreciating your own emotions and where you stand. And you're also hearing them out as well. You're saying, if I'm unreasonable, I'll back off. I get that. I want to discuss boundaries and I also don't like this. I'm just being straightforward with you. By them seeing it like that, they realize that sometimes people just have different views and you're not saying that they're doing anything wrong. You didn't say they're cheating. You didn't say that they're talking to them. You said nothing like that. This person is fearful avoidant female, right? She didn't say any of that. She's just saying, I don't like this. Let's do something about it, okay? Had nothing to do with either of them, okay? The next one is, I want to say like unattached or like I guess non-reactive conversations is a better way to describe it, where you're talking about the relationship's direction without coming across as pressure, okay? Now, I'm going to give two ways to do this, okay? The first one might be in a positive way where you're not asking for anything, okay? You might say something like, wow, we've come a really long way over the course of these 4 years together. Because sometimes avoidants don't realize how many years you guys have been together. So sometimes saying it like that indirectly might help them to realize, oh, wow, I am committed to this person. It's really been 4 years. That can help, okay? Now, what if you want something more in the commitment? Let's say you guys want to move in together. Sometimes discussing it in a certain way can help the chances of you guys opening up and connecting in that way. Maybe you can say something like, I'm hoping we can move in together about 2 to 4 years. And I want to have a lunch date or a time that we can explore our financial options. Is this something you're willing to explore with me? So the reason that this can help is you presented it in a way where you're almost acting as though this is something that's okay. This is okay for the next steps. This is what I'm looking at. We can have some sort of discussion about it and discuss our financial options, okay? This is not necessarily a commitment option, even though it is. It's also a financial option, right? We've talked about in general on this channel, sometimes avoidance, communicating with them the actual literal benefits of something can really help. The financial options, the logistic options, maybe it's easier so we don't have to travel so far. Maybe you guys are long distance. We don't have to drive like 5 hours to see each other. It's going to be easier for us. I want to talk about it. Are you willing to explore that? And you've given them a time frame, not a specific time. I want to move in together 3.5 years from now. You mentioned 2 to 4 years. So it's a little bit more flexible, okay? I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Let me go ahead and summarize it. I forgot. You guys want summaries. Then we'll wrap it up, okay? The first one is self-declaration. The second one is emotional safety. The third one is addressing issues before they spill over. And the fourth one is unattached or unreactive conversations about their relationship direction. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I will see you in the next one.